The bill was good to go when it left committee. Unfortunately, once it left committee, it's transformed into a document that my colleagues have turned into a culture war document.
The language in this bill is very straightforward. It would simply roll back Biden's illegal DOD abortion travel policy issued under the October 2022 memorandum, returning DOD to the practice in place for decades. Abortion is not medical care for the baby. It's a brutal procedure that ends the lives of unborn children through suction, dismemberment, or chemical poisoning. The Biden administration's made taxpayer funding available for abortion at any stage of pregnancy, even for late-term abortions that inflict excruciating pain and suffering on the child. This human rights abuse should not be paid for or encouraged by the U.S. government.
In this Congress alone, in the past year and a half, we have voted 15 times to strip a woman of a right to choose in some form or fashion. Sometimes it's the right to travel. Sometimes it's the right to medication. Sometimes it's the right to understanding if a healthcare center is actually able to perform an abortion or not. It's misinformation. It's disinformation. So I'm deeply disappointed that we're again in this place where my colleagues won't stop attacking a woman's right to choose, and now a woman in uniform, someone who's putting her life on the line to serve her country.
If it was your wife, your daughter, who is suffering through a miscarriage, are you going to tell her she can't until her fever gets high enough, until she's bleeding harder? That's what's happening in the state of Texas right now. If that's what you want for veterans, shame on you. Shame on you.
And so let me just say this one more time, because I keep getting asked the same question over and over again. I will keep my hold. I will keep it on until the Pentagon follows the law or changes the law. It's that simple.
And we have a single senator, Senator Tuberville, who is holding and blocking 250 military promotions right now, the head of the Marine Corps, the head of the Army, the head of the Navy, because he objects to the fact that a woman might get a paid bus ticket to get an abortion. If blocking these nominations continues, we will have no chairman of the Joint Chiefs, no commandant of the Marine Corps for the first time in 134 years, no Army Chief of Staff, and his colleagues who claim to care about national security are letting him get away with it.
The Biden administration has pulled every lever within the federal government and encouraged federal agencies to create rules and adopt policies that not only expand abortion access, but also leave American taxpayers on the hook to subsidize abortion services. According to its illegal policy, DOD can now reimburse travel expenses for service members and their dependents who travel to obtain an abortion in another state, and can also reimburse associated fees for healthcare professionals seeking to be licensed in other states for the purpose of performing abortions, all, once again, on the taxpayer's dime. It stops here and it stops now. On this issue, I will never relent. The days of the radical left ignoring the law and driving their social agenda in the military are done. I will absolutely not waver in my defense of the unborn or in my support of the rule of law. I will do everything I can to ensure our military service members can focus on the jobs and their families instead of being used to support political point or score political points for the Biden administration.
The United States should hear that in every place, in every possible window, the people on the other side of the aisle are going to continue their 50-year pledge to get rid of all abortions everywhere. They're open about that. And while those of them who are in competitive elections may try to mealy-mouth what they have done for the past 20 years, we need to hear what they are telling us.
Haven't you learned yet that the military is weaker, not stronger, with the 8,600 people that you vax mandated out of the military?
Just one point, Congressman. The reason I'm here is because the chairman requested that I appear to talk about the circumstances surrounding my hospitalization.
But don't you see the hypocrisy in it? Because you screwed up, we fix your screw up, and now you want grace, but these people who sought religious exemptions, they got no such grace. And also, I just think it's ridiculous that we're in 3 wars, you went AWOL for 3 days, and we get 2 hours with you. If you can't spend more than 2 hours answering these questions, I don't know how you really operate in all these wars.
If we want to talk about what's going on in national security and the greatest threat to national security, it's not that the Secretary of Defense screwed up and is cleaning up the mess. The greatest threat to national security is the polarization of the country and the fact that we can't explain to the world who we are and what kind of leadership role we want.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for putting up with the outrage and the drama. I would just say, look, you made a mistake. You admitted it. You're taking steps to address it.
And you want to know what accountability is? Accountability is having to come and sit in front of people and their outrage and their drama in public about your health issues and the mistakes you've admitted you've made when the entire world is wondering what the hell is going on with the United States of America. The whole world is trying to figure out what we're going to do next. Are we going to fund Ukraine to make sure that for the first time since World War II, we don't have an autocratic nation take over a democracy? First time. Are we going to send a signal to the Chinese and the Chinese government that we still want a leadership role in the in the world, and we're willing to back that up with strength, with force, and with action? We have got our soldiers being shot at in the Middle East by the Iranians. We've got a lot going on. And I would hazard a guess that the people who are most stridently dramatic about this issue are the very ones who have said publicly that they don't intend to support protecting Ukraine against Putin. They don't care about what's going on in Taiwan. They don't want that strong role in the world. They want to distract us with this and everything else that they're yelling about because they are ceding our leadership role in the world. And U.S. leadership is far from perfect, but I would take U.S. leadership over Chinese leadership or Russian leadership any single day. So watch the outrage, and you can correlate that to how much they don't want to talk about their sucking up to their whoever, political masters, and denying the United States of America its leadership role that it has held since World War II. We are also sitting here unable to get a budget done. A budget for the whole government, not just the Pentagon. We're living on these now 1-week extensions, 2 months extensions, going on and on. If we're worried about competing in the 21st century on national security, if we're worried about drone attacks, using a $1,000 drone to hit our forces in places like the Middle East, we need to do things to adapt and fight. By not passing a budget for next year, the Pentagon is unable to do anything new. They're unable to start anything new. They're just holding on week by week, month by month, while we screw up our national security because we can't get our own house in order. This committee has always been a real calm in the storm when it comes to bipartisanship. So I would ask that when we come back together in a month and have a hearing with the Secretary, we focus it on the things that are actually important to national security, instead of denying this man the apology that he's made, the mea culpa that he's made, and get on to the business of the American people. I yield back.
Later today, we will begin voting on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, the Pentagon budget. Moving this legislation forward has almost always been a bipartisan issue in Congress. It takes on the responsibilities of funding our military. It protects our national security. It has been a bipartisan effort for nearly 6 decades. But last night, after midnight, Republican leadership decided to bring to the floor dozens of partisan, divisive amendments. If adopted, these amendments would transform this bill and transform our military. It is quite literally a wish list of the right-wing extremist colleagues on the other side of the aisle. There's an amendment to end all affirmative action in our officer corps, something even our Supreme Court refused to do just a few weeks ago. There's an amendment to full stop end all aid to Ukraine at the very moment we're expanding NATO and working on protecting that democracy abroad on behalf of all democracies. But another one that they passed was a divisive amendment that prevents female service members in the military from accessing the reproductive care that they need and they deserve. Plain and simple, last night they chose culture war over national security. And they're doing so as part of a clear effort to prevent every single American woman from accessing care. It is part and parcel of a larger campaign to impose a nationwide ban on abortion. Last night, like I said, in the dead of night, the Freedom Caucus passed this amendment to stop the military from paying for a bus ticket, for a plane ticket for any woman who needs an abortion. And it is proof of this bigger plan.
In addition to this amendment that passed last night, we have amendments in the Appropriations Committee that are the same thing. 46% of active duty service women are stationed in states that now either ban or very severely restrict abortion. They have no choice. They are based there. They have signed up to serve their country. They have been put on a base in Texas or in Alabama. That is not their choice. That is their duty. But the authors of these bills are not set on just letting the reversal of Roe sit and having states make their own decisions. The authors of these amendments are from Alabama and Texas, which ban abortion, including in the role of rape or incest. Why is this important? It's important because we need to hear what people are telling us. They are telling us that they will not stop with the reversal of Roe that happened a year ago. They will not stop when states like Michigan organize to make sure we have protections for women who want abortions. They want every single American, starting with our service members, to live under the same rules that they choose in their states. We need to hear what they are telling us and act accordingly. They are choosing politics over our women in uniform, choosing politics in the Senate over our national security. So please, I have never in my life, as someone who served in the CIA, who served in the Pentagon, thought about voting against this bill. I believe it. I believe in it. It's about paying our military and getting them what they need. Please keep your culture war baggage out of national security. Thank you. Earlier today, a letter went out from Ranking Member Bost and the Pro-Life Caucus saying that members, while they supported it previously, should now turn against it. After publicly supporting this, they are now leaving it. And why? Because they are concerned about VA policy. They are concerned about the VA's decision to provide veteran women with access to abortion when they have been raped, when they are the victims of family incest, or when a doctor confirms that the pregnancy is a risk to the health or the life of the mother. Not abortion on demand, not extreme policies, these very basic, commonly accepted instances when a woman veteran has gone through hell and has no other option. The other side of the aisle, to be clear, is objecting to this bill because they object to any exceptions whatsoever on abortion. It is a political game. It is literally putting politics ahead of the 18 million veterans and 200,000 each year that separate. It is our responsibility to honor the veterans, male and female. And I find it disturbing that you would play politics in this way.
When you put life and health of mother, it expands what can be distorted and where we're at, and it opens to the point of long-term abortion, and that has actually been verified by the VA.
If you believe that the provisions that the VA has put forward have a legal problem, you have the right to take up that case and put it through the courts. We are the legislative branch. We make laws, we pass laws. We are not judge and jury. Take it to a court if you're concerned. That is your right. In terms of making decisions on behalf of women, if you want to take a veterans bill and make it about abortion, then let's do it. What you are saying, and you're saying in front of the American people, is that you believe a veteran who has been raped, who is the victim of incest, and who is having a dangerous miscarriage does not deserve access to abortion. You are saying, unless you correct me and tell me what you believe a woman deserves to have when she has been raped, the victim of incest, or is in the middle of a dangerous miscarriage, if you can't state it, then be clear you believe in no exceptions for women, a cold, heartless, violent approach to women's health. You want to ban all abortions. That is your goal. Many of you have been open about that. And if you flip the House, we know that you will put forward a full ban on all abortion for all states. You've been clear about it. You want to turn a veterans bill into an abortion bill, let's do it. Not one of you are a medical doctor. Not one of you. What the VA guidelines say is that if you've been raped or the victim of incest or a medical professional deems that your pregnancy is a risk to your health, the one of 4 women in this country who has had a miscarriage, probably many women in this room, that you are a better judge of who gets to decide the future of their life and not a medical doctor? I rise today to call out the amendments that have been forced into the Pentagon budget over the past month and a half. When this Pentagon budget was voted on in our committee, it passed 58-1. I voted for it, as did many of my peers on this side of the aisle and the other side of the aisle. When it left our committee, it became a wish list of right-wing culture war agenda. If you take a 40,000-foot view of what's going on here, it becomes very clear. The other side of the aisle is not going to stop until there is a federal ban on all abortions in every state, in every circumstance. Our last speaker made it clear. A bill that is typically bipartisan is now become a prisoner of this debate. So let's review the bidding. We have seen the other side of the aisle put in unnecessary abortion restrictions in minor appropriations, in veterans bills targeting female veterans. A single senator is holding up 300 critical military nominations because service members want to get leave to get the care that they need. And the NDAA in its current form is targeting servicewomen specifically. The other side of the aisle is taking national security issues now hostage to their unrelenting fight on this issue, so that no woman can have a right to an abortion if she's been raped, if she's the victim of incest, or for simple miscarriage, which 1 out of 3 women in America have had. I know the other side of the aisle is not listening on this issue. The American people need to hear it loud and clear. They want a federal ban on abortion. I yield back.